Hey, what's up, people? Pizzal here, and today I want to talk to you guys about the new Blue Underground 3-disc limited edition Blu-ray release for 1980's Maniac. Now, this is partially going to be a review of the movie as well as a review of this Blu-ray release. And I'm not going to bore you guys with an elaborate plot synopsis for Maniac. If you haven't already seen the film, I'm sure you've heard of it. You're aware of its reputation. And there is so much content on this release to do a full review of the movie and then dive into the extras, the picture quality, the sound quality, etc., etc. This is going to be a 30 to 45 minute video. So I'm going to spare you guys from that. I'm going to give you the Cliff's Notes version of Maniac and why I think it is such a good movie, and then dive into the extras on this release. Now, Maniac is an interesting film. You can't really call it a slasher movie. You can't really call it a serial killer movie, at least in my opinion. For me, Maniac is a chilling and brutal character study of a psychopath, punctuated by moments of extreme violence that are further punctuated by Tom Savini's splattertastic special makeup effects. And if you've heard anything about Maniac, I'm sure you've heard about just how violent the film is and about those makeup effects. And the movie lives up to that. This was Tom Savini at the top of his game when it comes to special makeup effects. The violence in the film, even by today's standards, and I've seen this film countless times on VHS, on various DVD releases, on other Blu-ray releases, and every time I watch this movie, there are still moments in it that my jaw is like on the floor, that the filmmakers sort of had the balls to film those sequences and that they somehow were able to release the film. Now, granted, there were some territories that rejected the movie. It was extensively cut in other territories, but to think that this movie played in theaters back in the day is shocking to me. You've got scalpings, multiple scalpings. You've got a woman ran through with like a bayonet. You've got limbs chopped off. There is an awesome exploding head gag in the movie, and it's Tom Savini's head that is and it's shot in glorious slow motion. It looks fantastic. It looks absolutely fantastic. The end of the movie is so brutal and bloody, and you've got this gag involving a character's head being torn off, and it looks so good. Again, even by today's standards, even under the scrutiny of a really nice 4K transfer, a very crisp, very clean, very clear 4K transfer, the effects in this film still look very good. The violence in this film, even though it was made 40 years ago, it's still, shocking, to be perfectly honest. Now, I wouldn't say Maniac is an extreme horror movie, but it's still, there are moments in this film that are kind of, even today, for me, after having seen the film countless times, again, my jaw just kind of hits the floor. And when people think of Maniac, again, they think first and foremost about the violence, about the makeup effects. And that's largely what this movie's reputation was sort of founded upon, which in one regard, again, it's a testament to Tom Savini, but unfortunately, I think all that emphasis being put on the effects and the violence in the movie, unfortunately, kind of undercuts a brilliant performance from Joe Spinel as the Maniac in the film. He brings so much to this performance, and it's the little things, it's the little nuances that he brings to this performance that really makes it unsettling and chilling and just unforgettable. Now, I've never met a legitimate psychopath, but I imagine that that person behind closed doors is probably a lot like the character of Frank Zito that Joe Spinel plays in Maniac. And again, the little things, I'm talking about the far off looks in his eyes. I'm talking about something as simple as him just rocking back and forth on the bed. These little grunts, these little noises that he makes in the film. How seemingly tortured he is with himself, and the fact that he is kind of what he is. A bit of a backstory to why he's a psychopath that honestly, and I'm not a fan of backstories. I'm not a fan of ascribing a motive to a character like this, but in the case of Maniac, and in how Joe Spinel portrays the character, the backstory just makes him very sympathetic, honestly. So as the viewer, you're sort of torn because he's doing these absolutely horrific things, yet at the same time you see him struggling with himself. And it's an amazing performance from Joe Spinel. I can't put into words how good I think his performance is in this film. And I really think, his performance is at the heart of Maniac. And even though it kind of, I don't want to say it gets lost in the shuffle, but certainly the violence, the makeup effects are what people think of when they think of Maniac. When I think of Maniac, I think of Joe Spinel. Then I think of the violence and the splattertastic makeup effects. Maniac is also a really well-made film. It's a really well-shot film. It's a great-looking movie. It was shot on location in New York City. This was the 42nd Street, the Grindhouse kind of era New York, that, urban squalor kind of look and feel that I love. The music in the film is absolutely fantastic. The Maniac theme in this movie is so, it even makes you feel empathy toward the character as well. So, Spinel's performance with the Maniac theme on top of it, it's a 1-2 punch. Carolyn Monroe is great in this film as well. This is just all around, I think, a really, really great movie. This is a classic, in my opinion. I cannot say enough about Joe Spinel's performance in this film. Again, the extreme violence in the movie, the makeup effects, just top-notch stuff here in Maniac. I cannot recommend it anymore. If you've not seen Maniac, definitely go out and check out Maniac. This Blu-ray release from Blue Underground would be a great way to introduce yourself to the film. If you are a fan of Maniac or a fan of Joe Spinel, this new 3-disc limited edition Blu-ray release from Blue Underground is definitely something you want to look into and add to your collection. First, let's take a look at the presentation here. We get a really nice lenticular slipcover. Check that out. Inside we have a clear case, which is always very, very nice. The sleeve here has the old school classic, awesome artwork for Maniac. Iconic artwork for Maniac. The reverse of the sleeve features some other artwork with the face of the late great Joe Spinel there on it. This release also comes with a booklet that includes a write-up about the film from Michael Gingold, and it also includes some very nice full-color images from the film. This is a 3-disc release. Disc 1 is the film, which is in my Blu-ray player right now. Disc 2 is the extras, and we have a bonus disc, which is the CD soundtrack for Maniac. This release features a brand new 4K restoration from its recently discovered 16mm original camera negative. Now, I've seen Maniac on VHS. I've seen it on at least a couple of different DVD releases. I own the other Blue Underground Blu-ray release for this film, and I can tell you that this is the best Maniac has ever looked. The picture quality is crisp, it's clean, it's clear. Yes, there's still grain, but it's like this perfect balancing of the grain to keep that kind of, grindhouse quality to the film, while at the same time, the picture is so crisp, it's so clean, it's so clear. It's a phenomenal 4K restoration for this movie. As far as the picture quality for this movie is concerned, I'd give it a 4.5 or a 5 out of 5. The audio quality, again, very nice audio quality for this film. I would give it a solid 4 or 4.5 out of 5. So the picture quality and the sound quality for this release are both absolutely superb. As far as extras are concerned, the extras on this release are broken down into 3 categories. You have featurettes, publicity, and controversy. Under featurettes, we have Maniac Outtakes. It's 19 minutes in length. This is from the 16mm footage that was recently discovered, and it includes commentary with William Lustig. Even though this footage is nearly 40 years old, it looks really good, really cool. To see this footage, and it's really interesting to hear William Lustig discuss this footage while watching it. Very, very nice extra. Next up, we have Return to the Scene of the Crime with William Lustig. It's 7 minutes and 53 seconds in length. Maniac director William Lustig revisits the shooting locations of Maniac. He discusses serial killers of the 70s that inspired Maniac, such as John Wayne Gacy and the Son of Sam. He discusses how Times Square has changed since 1979. Lustig takes us to the St. James Hotel, the rest area, where they filmed the murder of Tom Savini's character, where the Roosevelt Hospital was, the subway, the Calvary Cemetery, where Joe Spinel was actually laid to rest. He discusses how serious Joe Spinel took his role in the film and the film itself. He discusses his friendship with Joe Spinel and much more. Very nice extra here. Next up, we have Anna and the Killer. It's 13 minutes and 4 seconds in length. It's an interview with star Carolyn Monroe. Miss Monroe discusses how she got into modeling and how that led her to being cast as an extra in Casino Royale. She discusses meeting Joe Spinell and getting cast in Maniac because Daria Nicolodi, the former Ms. Dario Argento, was originally cast in that role but couldn't do it because of a prior work-related engagement in Italy, so Joe wanted Carolyn Monroe to replace her. She discusses Bill Lustig taking her to see Halloween the night before they began filming Maniac. She discusses not wanting to promote the film in LA because she was warned not to due to the film being targeted by women's groups for its violence towards women. She discusses being shocked by the movie the first time that she saw it and how real the effects looked. A very nice interview with the lovely Ms. Carolyn Monroe. Next up, we have The Death Dealer. It's 19 minutes and 7 seconds in length. It's an interview with special makeup effects artist Tom Savini. Mr. Savini discusses how popular he'd gotten following Dawn of the Dead and Friday the 13th, which ushered in the splatter craze. He discusses brainstorming effects with Bill Lustig and Joe Spinell, and how Spinell's suggestions were even too extreme for Tom Savini. He discusses the different effects in the film and how he pulled them off, including the infamous exploding head, which led them to, after they shot that, if you've seen the exploding head gag, you know that car was a mess afterwards. It was so messy that they actually drove it into the Hudson River to just get rid of it. He discusses the fun atmosphere on the set of Maniac, and how that was because most of the actresses in the film were also porn stars. So apparently, according to Tom Savini, having porn stars on the set of your movie makes for a fun atmosphere. Very nice interview with Mr. Savini. Next up, we have Dark Notes. It's an interview with composer Jay Chataway. It's 12 minutes and 12 seconds in length. Mr. Chataway discusses his early career as a jazz musician and producer. He discusses how he got the gig on Maniac and how the energy and excitement of Bill Lustig and Joe Spinell made him want to sign on to do the music. He discusses wanting the theme of Maniac to make you feel empathetic towards Spinell's character. He discusses how popular the music for the film has been over the years and how many times it has been re-released. Nice interview with Mr. Chataway. Next up, we have Maniac Men. It's an interview with songwriters Michael Cimbello and Dennis Matosky. It's 10 minutes and 35 seconds in length. Mr. Cimbello, Mr. Matosky, and Bill Lustig discuss the urban legend that the Michael Cimbello song Maniac that was in the film Flash Dance was originally intended to be in Maniac. Very nice, very interesting discussion between those three. Next up, we have the Joe Spinel story. It's 49 minutes and 20 seconds in length. It's a documentary about the wildlife and times of Joe Spinel, including interviews with family, friends, and collaborators such as Bill Lustig, Robert Forster, Richard Lynch, Jason Miller, Carolyn Monroe, and many, many more. Very nice documentary about the life and times of Joe Spinel. He was a very, very interesting guy, and he led quite a life. Very, very nice documentary about Joe Spinel. And we have Mr. Robbie Maniac 2 promo reel. It's 7 minutes and 24 seconds in length. It's the promo reel for the unfinished Maniac sequel. Under publicity, we have Paul Wonder radio interview with Bill Lustig, Joe Spinel, and Carolyn Monroe. It's 19 minutes and 11 seconds in length. They discuss the violence in Maniac and the makeup effects. Carolyn Monroe discusses how she got cast in the film. They discuss the marketing campaign for Maniac. Lustig discusses his background as a film editor. Spinel discusses the audience the film is intended for, and much more. Next up, we get William Lustig on Movie Madness from 1981. It's 47 minutes and 18 seconds in length. Excuse me. Mr. Lustig discusses why he wanted to become a director. They take calls in which Lustig talks about the critical response to Maniac, including the 2 Chicago critics who were very critical of the film. I wonder who those 2 Chicago critics were. I have no idea. They discuss the special effects in the film and Tom Savini's work on Maniac. It's kind of a public access show. And if you're familiar with public access shows, there's a lot of technical difficulties with public access shows. And there were quite a few technical difficulties with this show, particularly with the call-ins, but still pretty interesting stuff. Next up, we get Joe Spinel at Cannes. It's 43 seconds in length. Spinel briefly mentions his plans to do a Maniac sequel, a mafia movie, and a movie about a father-son killing team in New Jersey. Next up, we get Joe Spinel on The Joe Franklin Show. It's 13 minutes and 13 seconds in length. Mr. Spinel discusses his approach to acting and his favorite role prior to making Maniac. He discusses Maniac, saying, "If you don't like a lot of blood and gore, don't come and see it." I think that should have been the tagline. He briefly discusses working with Sylvester Stallone on Nighthawks. Nice interview with Mr. Spinel from The Joe Franklin Show. Next up, we have a Carolyn Monroe TV interview. It's 2 minutes and 53 seconds in length. Ms. Monroe discusses Maniac and her status as a Scream Queen. She recommends not eating too much before going to see the film. That could have been another tagline for Maniac. But nice brief interview with Miss Monroe. Next up, we have Barf Bag Review Policy. It's 2 minutes and 10 seconds in length, in which a movie critic from the local NBC affiliate discusses the new rating system for bad movies. And it's a barf bag rating system. Next up, we have the Grindhouse Film Festival Q&A with Bill Lustig, Andy Gironi, and Sharon Mitchell. It's 22 minutes and 19 seconds in length. We also get a still gallery. Under controversy, we get media coverage of the controversy surrounding the release of Maniac and its marketing materials from Los Angeles, Chicago, and Philadelphia news stations. We get 2 Newsbeat reports on violence in film and the graphic special effects in films like The Howling, Friday the 13th Part 2, and Maniac, including interviews with Joe Dante and William Lustig. We get Midnight Blue, in which Al Goldstein rants against violent movies and then mutilates a blow-up doll. Good stuff there. We get Next up, we get Gallery of Outrage, featuring negative reviews of Maniac and a letter from the Philippines rejecting the producer's request for distribution there. And this is a really nice, very nice letter. Very amusing. Very, very amusing. There are also Easter eggs on both discs. I won't tell you how to find them, but Just thought I'd let you know that they are there. We get 2 commentaries, one with William Lustig and producer Andrew Garroni, and a commentary with William Lustig, Tom Savini, editor Lorenzo Marinelli, and Joe Spinell's assistant Luke Walter. We get trailers, TV spots, and radio spots. This is an excellent release for Maniac from Blue Underground. The picture quality and the sound quality are both superb. The presentation is fantastic. I love the lenticular slipcover. You've got a couple of really nice new extras on here. You've got a lot of the older extras from the prior releases ported over. This is a great release for Maniac from Blue Underground. If you've not seen Maniac, I cannot recommend it any higher. This release would be a great way to introduce yourself to the film. If you're a fan of Maniac, you definitely want to look into picking up this release from Blue Underground and adding it to your collection. I'll put a link to Blue Underground's website in the description. Go over and check them out. If you've picked up this release, please let me know your thoughts on it down in the comment section below. Let me know your thoughts on Maniac just in general and the performance of Joe Spinell in Maniac down in the comments section below. Also, if you like this video, please leave it a thumbs up. As always, thanks so much for watching. I really appreciate it. If you're not following me on social media, those links are in the description. They're also right around here. You guys take care, and until next time, peace. Join the $1 a Month Club and help support my channel on Patreon. Thank you to my current patrons, Kevin Smythe, Orc145626, B-Movie Mike, Robert Sobel, Turi Delamore, Stephen Flanagan, Lori Holt, Mitch Odell, Farron Sutton, Craig Farrand, Jeremiah Lambert, Grindhouse Grotto, Joseph Charlesworth, Chris Earls, Derek Jana, Demon Waffles, Tim Williams, Stone Gassman, Zachary Barton, Mr. Bibby86, James Welch, Eli Geisler, Jeff Overing, Cliff Hostetter, Cal McGuire, Jay the Stingray, Lauren Dixon, and Travis Davis. Say hello to the internet, Jeremy.
Hello to the internet.